Good day, year 7 once again. This is our second lesson on angles at a point, and today we'll be looking at how to calculate the missing angles. So our success criteria will be our ability to calculate the missing angles. Again, angles and shapes knowledge from primary school, our previous lesson on classify and name angles, and also our ability to solve equations, which we did in term 1, would all come very handy with today's lesson. Right, so let's focus on a few things now. There are a few examples that we want to look at. Remember, we said if angles add up to 90 degrees, we call them complementary angles from the previous lesson. And so here, these angles add up to 90 degrees. So to apply the knowledge of complementary angles in solving this problem, all that we need to do is that since that angle there is x, we will set up an equation like so. X plus 65 should be equal to 90 degrees because they will add up to 90, of course. Now, we want to get rid of this 65 here so that we free that x, which is there. So to free that, because this is plus, we got to use the inverse, which is minus. So if we do minus 65 here and we do minus 65 over there, so you can see minus 65. So I've actually done nothing. Whatever you do on the left-hand side, you do on the right-hand side. But 65 minus 65 will give you 0. So you're left with the x. And 90 minus 65, that gives us 25. So this is what we will refer to as showing your work. Showing working out. Showing working out. Well, you could have just asked yourself, well, this angle is 65. What must I add to 65 to get 90 degrees? That's the whole point. But the steps down here is just simply allowing us to express our thinking in a more logical way, which is usually the case whenever we have to solve problems. It means we have to show our thinking in a way that is quite logical. All right. Next, in a straight line, we know the angles will add up to 180 degrees. That's what we know from the previous lesson. That supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So we're applying that knowledge. Since this angle here is y, and that is 110 degrees. So you set up your equation, y plus 110 equals 180 degrees. Again, because it's plus, we use the inverse, which is minus. So minus 110 and minus 110. It means we've done nothing. But however, by doing that, we free this y, the unknown quantity. So 110 minus 110 will give you 0. And so you're left with y because y plus 0 is still y. And here is 180 minus 110. That gives you the 70 degrees. Remember to attach the unit in this case, which is the degree symbol. We can argue the same. These are all work examples. So just showing you how to apply this. Remember, a full circle is called a revolution, and you have 360 degrees in a revolution. So if all this angle here is 210 degrees and the angle there is 70 degrees, we can find this angle Z. All that we need to do is to set up that equation, which is the Z plus 210 plus 70 would give us 360 degrees. 210 plus 70 gives you 280. So Z plus 280 equals 360. And at this point, because it is plus, we use the inverse, which is minus 280 and minus 280 on both sides. 280 minus 280 will give you 0. Z plus 0 is still Z. and you have 360 minus 280, and that gives you the 80 degrees. So Z equals 80 degrees. Pretty straightforward. So you can pause here and do this problem yourself. The first one has been done for you. Right, if you've paused and completed, let's continue. So here you see that 40 plus 140, that's supplementary. 40 plus 140 gives us 180 degrees. That's the angles in a straight line. The degree sign has already been put there for us. This is what? A revolution. So we expect everything to add up to what? 360 degrees. And that is 160 plus 120 plus 80. 120 plus 80, that gives you 200 plus 160, that's 360, which we have there. 360. Pretty straightforward. So now you can pause and do this by yourself now. So you can see you've got 10 degrees plus 80 degrees. And 10 plus 80 is what? 90 degrees. The degree sign is already there. What about here? You've got 60 plus 30 degrees. Now, the square we see there shows us that it is 90 degrees. That's the right angle. So 60 plus 30, that gives us 90, and 90 plus 90 gives us 180 degrees, which we should expect. 180 degrees, the sum of angles in a straight line. Pretty straightforward. Pause and solve for the unknown value x in each case. Pause and do this, please. I hope you've paused and completed this, so let's continue so you can mark your work. Now, x plus 75 will be equal to 90 degrees because they are complementary angles. Now, we want to solve for x. So, because that is plus, we must use the inverse, which is the minus. So, minus 75. So, do minus 75. 75 minus 75 will be 0. So x plus 0 is still x. And 90 minus 75, that gives us what? 15. So 15 degrees is our answer. That's 15 degrees. Let's go to question B. You have x plus 22 degrees should be equal to what? 90 degrees. We know it's 90 here because of the square. We know that 90 degrees because of that square there. That is your indication. That is 90 degrees. All right. So what should be our next step? Well, it will be x plus 22 minus 22 should be equal to 90 degrees minus 22 degrees. And 90 minus 20 would have given us 70. So 90 minus 22 is what? 68 degrees. Next, x plus 34 degrees should be equal to what? That tells you 90 degrees. So what is our next step? It's not been put there for us, but we know it is going to be x plus 34 degrees minus 34 degrees equals 90 degrees minus 34 degrees. Okay, 34 minus 34 will be 0, so you're left with x, and 90 minus 34. Remember, 90 minus 30 would have given us 60, and then we'll take away 4, so that's 56 degrees. 56 degrees. Easy. Please pause, copy these questions in your maths books again, solve them, and then we'll continue with the video to discuss. So if you can pause now, that'd be great. Write the questions in your maths book, solve them, and then continue. Okay. Let's hope that you paused and you have done what you need to do. 120 plus g will give us what? 180 degrees. So g plus 120 degrees equals 180 degrees. So what we need to do is to subtract 120 from here and subtract 120 from there. 180 minus 120 will give us 60 degrees. Again, m plus 72 degrees will give us 180 degrees. So because it's plus, we need to subtract 72 degrees and subtract 72 degrees. So m is equal to what? If it was 80, that would be 100. So 108 degrees. 108 degrees. 108 degrees. So that's your answer there, and that's your answer there for M. And for K, again, K plus 164 should be equal to 180 degrees. Right. So what should I do? Minus 164 minus 164. Minus 170 would have been 10, so that is 16 degrees. 16 degrees. Kindly pause, write these questions in your maths books again, draw the diagrams, of course, and solve them. So pause and solve them. Okay. If you've done that, you've got 200 degrees here and V over there. So V plus 200 degrees should be equal to 360 degrees. Remember, you have to subtract 200 from the left-hand side and subtract 200 from the right-hand side. And so V must be equal to 160 degrees. 160 degrees. In other words, 200 plus 160 will give you 360 degrees. Right. You have P plus 120 degrees plus 140 degrees equals 360 degrees. 120 plus 140, that gives us 260 degrees. So P plus 260 equals 360. You subtract 260 here, and you subtract 260 there. So P must be equal to 100. 100 degrees. 100 degrees. Right. The final question here, you got S plus 205 plus, that's the square there in that corner, means 90 degrees. 90 degrees. And this must be equal to 360 degrees because all the angles will form one revolution, which is at 360 degrees. Now 90 plus 205, that gives us 295 degrees equals 360 degrees. What must I add to 295 in order to get 360, which is the same as 360 take away 295. And if you do that, you get 65 degrees because 360 minus 300 will give you 60. So because it's 295, you have 65 degrees remaining. Great. Well, in year 7, for these calculations, you are allowed to use calculators, but as you can see, these are all simple and straightforward. We don't need a calculator for these calculations, although you'll be allowed to use. Practice questions. So again, you can pause, get these questions done in your maths books, and please answer them before you continue with the video. The question is, what is the size of the angle? And the tip, vertically opposite angles are equal. So if that's 55 degrees and that's M, then M must be 55 degrees. And the reason, vertically opposite. Vertically opposite. Vertically opposite. That's the reason. Now, we want to find Y. And we've been given two angles there. So if I use the vertically opposite reasoning, then Y is simply 102 degrees without shedding a sweat. Reason vertically opposite. Angles are equal. Here I could have also completed the sentence, vertically opposite angles are equal. So you give that as your reason. You give that as your reason. But with this question, you could have also used this reasoning here because this is a straight line. So you could have also said Y plus 78 equals 180 degrees. And so subtract 78 and subtract 78. You get Y to be equal to 102 degrees. Here, the reason we are using is they form a straight angle. They form a straight angle, or they are supplementary. You can also use the word supplementary. So there are sometimes several ways you can solve the same problem, but the easiest, of course, was using vertical opposite because you just don't do anything just by recognition. Again, pause, solve the problems, and then continue rolling the tape. We are to find the value of the pronumeral, the value of the pronumeral, in other words, the value of the letter. Angles with the same pronumerals are equal. So that's P and that's P. So P plus P add up to 90 degrees. So 2P equals 90 degrees. So what is P? Well, you divide here by 2 and you divide there by 2. 90 divided by 2 is what? 45. In other words, 45 times 2 is equal to 90 degrees. When you come down here to question B, remember this is a straight line, so it's supplementary, they add up to 180 degrees. So R plus R plus R, that's a 3R equals 180 degrees. So if you want R, you divide by 3 and you divide by 3. And so 180 divided by 3 is 60 degrees. In other words, 3 times 60 is 180 degrees. So that's it. That's it. Right. Final question for today. Pause, write a question down in your book, answer it, and continue. I hope you've done that now. Says shade the box beneath the correct answer. The wheel below has been made with 6 identical trapeziums. And the angle there is x, and we've been asked what is the value of x. Well, there's 1 x here. That will be the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. Because it's made up of 6 identical trapezia, all the 6 angles will be the same. So you got 6x being equal to, and they make 1 revolution, so 360 degrees. So just divide by 6 and divide by 6 because the inverse of multiplication is division. And by doing that, 6 divided by 6 will give you 1. 1x is still x. In algebra, we know that 1x is just simply x. And 360 divided by 6 is what? 60 degrees. So correct answer is that 60 degrees. Right. So in today's lesson, our intention was to learn how to calculate the missing angle, and I guess we successfully completed that. Our success criteria was our ability to calculate the missing angle and get a value. We made use of our previous knowledge from primary school. We made use of our previous lesson on classify and name angles, like knowing supplementary, complementary, vertically opposite, and all those things came very handy in today's lesson. We also utilized our ability to solve equations, linear equations, which we did in term 1. So if you have completed all the questions in this video as I ask you to pause and do, then head to Education Perfect and do your online homework, which has been set for this week on this unit of work. And also additional resources are available from our master's book, Pearson Mathematics 7. Please, it's a very good book. All your notes come from there, so have a look and do some more work. Right, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel Tabi Maths. Thank you very much.